President Obama's claimed progress in fighting the self-proclaimed Islamic State while urging U.S. allies to do more. Speaking after a national security meeting at the Pentagon, Obama touted the gains of the U.S.-led military coalition in Iraq and Syria, claiming it's hitting ISIL harder than ever.
Every day, we destroy as well more of ISIL's forces, their fighting positions, bunkers, and staging areas, their heavy weapons, bomb-making factories, compounds, and training camps. In many places, ISIL's lost its freedom of maneuver because they know if they mass their forces, we will wipe them out. In fact, since this summer, ISIL has not had a single successful major offensive operation on the ground in either Syria or Iraq. We are hitting ISIL harder than ever. Coalition aircraft, our fighters, bombers, and drones have been increasing the pace of airstrikes, nearly 9,000 as of today. The point is, ISIL leaders cannot hide, and our next message to them is simple: you are next.
President Obama's comments come amidst a quietly expanding U.S. military presence in Iraq and Syria. Just last month, Obama broke a pledge of no troops on the ground by ordering the deployment of around 50 special forces to Syria. Earlier this month, the U.S. said it was deploying another team of less than 100 special forces to Iraq. And last week, the Pentagon said for the first time it's ready to send U.S. advisors to help the Iraqi government retake Ramadi from ISIL. In his remarks, President Obama acknowledged that with ISIL's continued control of large parts of Iraq and Syria and recent terrorist attacks abroad, progress, quote, needs to keep coming faster. And in implicit rebuke of Middle Eastern allies such as Saudi Arabia and Turkey, Obama did not mention any of them among the nations assisting the U.S.-led coalition. Instead, Obama said the others he did not name should do more in the fight.
We recognize that progress needs to keep coming faster. No one knows that more than the countless Syrians and Iraqis living every day under ISIL's terror, as well as the families in San Bernardino and Paris and elsewhere who are grieving the loss of their loved ones. Just as the United States is doing more in this fight, just as our allies, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, Australia, and Italy are doing more, so must others. And that's why I've asked Secretary Carter to go to the Middle East. He'll depart right after this press briefing to work with our coalition partners on securing more military contributions to this fight. On the diplomatic front, Secretary Kerry will be in Russia tomorrow as we continue to work as part of the Vienna process to end the Syrian civil war.
Secretary of State John Kerry's trip begins in Russia today for talks on Syria. Even if ISIL is losing ground from U.S.-led strikes, Obama's comments highlight a dangerous predicament laid bare in recent weeks. While the coalition says its bombings will help stop future ISIL terrorism, ISIL says those bombings will lead to more terrorist attacks. In a video last month, ISIL vowed to strike every single nation involved in the campaign against it. And with the downing of a Russian jetliner, a suicide attack in Beirut, the massacre in Paris, and the shooting rampage it apparently inspired in San Bernardino, ISIL has shown it's making good on its threat. For more, we're joined by Gilbert Achcar, professor at the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London. His most recent book is The People Want a Radical Exploration of the Arab Uprising. He's working on a book on recent developments in the Arab world, in particular Syria and Egypt. We welcome you to Democracy Now! Gilbert Achcar, first respond to President Obama's address.
Good morning, Amy. Well, I think this was a poor attempt at imitating George W. Bush. I mean, Obama trying, to show some muscular kind of speech, and I say poor attempt because it was unconvincing, judging from most comments. He didn't have any real substance in what he said. I mean, we all know that they are striking, bombing. They've been bombing ISIS since over a year now, and he gave the figure. I mean, close to 9,000 airstrikes, which makes it a very high proportion, of airstrike per fighter, probably 1 to 5 or something like this, which is unseen, and yet this ISIS is still there, and although it's not expanding, hasn't been expanding recently, it's holding firmly to most of the land it acquired in the summer of 2014.
What do you think accounts for ISIS's strength? We interviewed an ISIS hostage, the French journalist Nicolas Henin, last week when we were in Paris. And he said when countries put up walls to refugees, that increases the power of ISIS. That's just what they want. And he also said when the coalition forces bomb ISIS, that also increases its strength. What do you say?
Well, that's true. I mean, starting with the refugees, the attacks that ISIS is launching in Western countries, like the one in Paris, or even this San Bernardino one, have led to exactly what ISIS want. That is, more and more politicians asking for, stopping the flow of refugees. And in the case of the United States, there has been no flow, actually. I mean, the United States have taken very, very, very few Syrian refugees on board. But you hear that all over Europe. You see now the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel herself, asking for strict limitations. And this indeed feeds into the discourse of ISIS. So they are quite clever at obtaining what they want through their attacks. And as for the bombing, I mean, the issue is that, of course, you can't eradicate an organization that is controlling whole swathes of territory, and including urban territory, just by bombing, especially that, and that's true, the coalition is trying to kill as few possible of civilians, as few civilians as possible. They are trying to avoid what in Pentagonese they call collateral damage, because they know that this would also very much increase ISIS attraction, ISIS appeal. So they all know, they keep repeating it, that they need forces on the ground to do that. But the question is, which kind of forces can you use in fighting ISIS? If you take the case of Iraq, what you have is the United States basically working with Iran. That's the objective fact on the ground, because what you have on the Iraqi side, whether the official forces or the militias are, Shia militias backed by Iran, and therefore very much, playing into the whole scenario, or the whole discourse of ISIS, of defending the Sunnis, the Sunni Muslims, against what they represent as some kind of Shia Jewish Western conspiracy. And that's the predicament, the main predicament that Obama is facing in Iraq, and the same goes now for Syria, because it's out of the question that you could defeat ISIS through any alliance with Russia, Iran, and the Assad regime. Because that's precisely what ISIS is pretending, that they are fighting all these people in defense of the Sunnis. So you need people who are seen as representing the overwhelming majority of the Syrian population who belong to the Sunni branch of Islam, and who are seen as such, as representing this. And that's the opposition. The only force representing this is this group of opposition forces which are fighting Assad and fighting ISIS at the same time, and which are now, the Saudi kingdom is trying to unify, as we have seen recently in the meeting there.
Well, Saudi Arabia has announced the formation of a 34-state Islamic military coalition to combat terrorism, they say. A long list of Arab countries like Egypt, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, together with Turkey, Malaysia, Pakistan, and Gulf Arab and African states were mentioned, with a center in Riyadh. What do you know about this, and what about Saudi Arabia's role in both attacking and in supporting ISIS?
Yeah, well, you have, a kind of complementary game being played by both the Saudi kingdom and Iran. Both of them have a stake, in turning all this conflict into a sectarian conflict. The Saudis, of course, on the Sunni side, and the Iranian on the Shia side. And the Saudi, this coalition that the Saudi kingdom just announced is very obviously a Sunni sectarian inspired coalition, since Iraq, which is an Arab country, is not part of it. Iran is not part of it, most people ignore actually that the Saudi kingdom and the other Gulf monarchies are not a part of the bombing of ISIS in Iraq, where they regard this as being actually that would be in favor of pro-Iranian forces. They only do it in.
We're talking to Gilbert Achcar. Gilbert, we're going to break and then come back to this discussion. Gilbert Achcar is professor at the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London. We'll be back with him in a minute. Hi, I'm Amy Goodman. I want to thank you for tuning in to Democracy Now! We are so grateful to our fans and followers for being a part of the daily conversation. By choosing a news source that's committed to the truth, you're carrying the message of independent media, reaching hundreds of thousands of people every day. In these times of war and elections, we need a media not sponsored by corporations that profit from war, but a media that's truly independent, funded by you. Democracy Now! Is not paid for by the weapons manufacturers, the insurance industry, or the oil, gas, coal, or nuclear companies. We don't take advertising or corporate underwriting dollars. That means we rely on your donations to make our daily independent news hour possible. We need your support today to keep bringing you the hard-hitting, in-depth reporting you've come to expect 5 days a week. Visit democracynow.org, or you can call 888-999-3877. That's 888-999-3877 to make your holiday gift to Democracy Now! Today. Thanks so much for sharing Democracy Now! Stories all year long.